For this recipe, it calls for diced onion, diced celery, and diced carrot. We will be using pancetta, which is known as Italian bacon, and just chop it up on your own. And the herbs we will be using are parsley, oregano, and thyme. And for thyme, a very easy way to get these off is hold the stem and pull in the opposite direction of their growth, and they come off very easily. Same for the oregano. Does not come off as easily, but just pull the leaves from the stem. Just be using the leaves. And for parsley, you will use a little bit more of a substantial amount, and this you can just pick off the leaves. Rough chop. All of these items will be slow braised with the beef short ribs and will break down over a couple hours, so it doesn't have to be a beautiful chop. We'll begin by seasoning it liberally with salt and pepper. And make sure you are covering all sides of the meat. Flavor. And get the other side. We have our Dutch oven set over medium-high heat, where we'll pour a couple tablespoons of olive oil in and let that heat up. And then we will be searing the short ribs on both sides, which actually crisps up the outside of the meat to create a crust, which gives it more depth of flavor. And you want to hear that happy sizzle. Hotter is better when you're searing meat. The Dutch oven was preheated to a medium-high heat prior to putting the olive oil in. You don't want to put the olive oil in too early, as it does have a lower smoke point than some oils, so it could smoke and actually burn the meat. So I do that at the last minute. The searing process is probably about 2 to 3 minutes per side. You know, ultimately you just want to get this nice dark brown crust, as you can see here. Once you obtain that, you can take them out of the Dutch oven. Once the short ribs are out of the Dutch oven, you can cover them with foil and place them in a warming oven set to about 170. So the next step is building the braising liquid. So as we begin building the braise, we will add what's known as the mirepoix, which is diced carrot, celery, and onion. This sound, when your pan is hot, is the sound that you want to hear, the sizzle. It's really creating the caramelization and developing the flavors in the ingredients. Next, we'll add the diced pancetta. And this step, we really just want to render out the fat of the pancetta. It may develop some color, which is fine. Just like the vegetables, it is a high heat, so you know, more color equals more flavor. And then add pureed garlic. I'll be using the Alessi Garlic Puree, which is just fresh garlic and extra virgin olive oil pureed. And it really adds a lot of extra fresh garlic flavor without actually having to use the fresh product out of the bulb. Cuts down the chopping time and prepping time and still gives you that fresh garlic taste. Next, we'll be adding all of the fresh cut herbs, the thyme, the oregano, and the parsley. The next step to developing the braise is adding about a half a bottle of a dry red wine. I'm using 1.5 cups of beef stock. I prefer the low sodium because you can control the amount of salt going into your braise. The next step is the Alessi chunky marinara sauce. And this is what makes the recipe very warm. It has a lot of developed tomato and garlic flavors already incorporated in the sauce. And as this slow cooks, it melds with the wine and the additional mirepoix that you've already started sauteing and just creates this delicate, warm sauce. And the final step to the braising liquid is a little more added salt and freshly ground pepper. You're really trying to make this liquid as flavorful as possible, and I think we've developed a lot of different elements. It's about building flavor from the bottom up rather than just pouring it all in and hoping for the best. You're developing every step, which create such a different depth of flavor with the final product. Once the braising liquid has been brought to a simmer, and all of the flavors are happily melded together, you've really achieved the flavor development that you're looking for. You'll take the warmed short ribs out of the oven. We will place them into the simmering liquid, and you can turn it, make sure it's coated on all sides. And prior to preheating your oven is to make sure that your racks are placed low enough and there's enough space for a Dutch oven. But do that in advance to avoid losing the heat. So after the short ribs have been braising for about 3 to 3.5 hours at 350 degrees, you can remove them from the oven. Very carefully, mind you. The pan will be extremely hot and will have captured a lot of steam, so always open the lid away from yourself as to avoid a short rib facial. And as you can see, the short ribs have developed the crust, the dark crust, as we seared them, and through the braising process have absorbed all of the tomato product from the Alessi chunky marinara, all of the mirepoix, the garlic, and have rendered down to a very, very delicate cut of meat. This is my version of homemade Italian braised short ribs for the home cook. My name is Stephanie Sisca, and I am a student at Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts in Boston. Thanks for spending some time with me learning my rustic Italian braised short rib recipe. I hope you enjoyed it.
Visit us for this and more delicious recipes at www.alessifoods.com.